Thank you for being on time. It's refreshing. Sometimes it happens. Now, I wanted to follow up on some nice points that you made yesterday. But thank you for the nice points you made yesterday. And if there's additional points from yesterday that didn't get covered, be nice. Now would be a nice time to hear. In Canto 12, Chapter 12, which is the next to the last chapter of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, in the very last verse of Chapter 12, there's a statement that confirms something that was said in yesterday's class. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, the son of Vyasadeva Shukadeva Goswami. It is he who defeats all inauspicious things within this universe. Although in the beginning he was absorbed in the happiness of Brahman realization and was living in a secluded place, giving up all other types of consciousness, he became attracted by the pleasing, most melodious pastimes of Lord Krishna. He therefore mercifully spoke this supreme Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the bright light of the absolute truth and which describes the activities of the Lord. So you can look it up later, 12:12:69. And then from a very reliable source, the two verses that he heard that attracted him to come back and hear further from Vyas were these Ho Bhakiyam Dana Kalakutam verse, that one, 3:2:23. Alas, Bucky. Who's Bucky? I shall take shelter of one more merciful than him. How shall I take shelter of one more merciful than him who granted the position of a she-demon, Putana, although she was faithless and had prepared deadly poison to be sucked from her breast? That's one of the two verses that's referred to that Maharaj Parikshit heard, Shukadeva Goswami heard and came back to hear more. This is 10:21:5. These are the two verses that are referred to. Wearing a peacock feather ornament upon his head, blue karnikara flowers on his ears, a yellow garment as brilliant as gold, and the Vaijayanti garland, Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers and entered the forest of Vrindavan, beautifying it with the marks of his footprints. He filled the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips, and the cowherd boys sang his glories. Nice verse. Any other outstanding homework assignment topics that we were supposed to look up and report back to you all? I'm looking especially to our questioner. Yes.
The commentary to 12:6:1. One of the points yesterday was that in the assembly of the sages,
in the assembly of the sages, 12:6:1.
Yeah, in the assembly of the sages where Shukadeva Goswami was speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, so in 12.6.1, it is mentioned that most of them, the commentary says, as per the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, many of the sages present, or almost all the sages present, were Gyanis. So the point that came up yesterday was, why didn't they speak?
Well, certainly Vyasadeva and Narada are not Gyanis. Certainly not Gyanis.
Right. So I'm just sharing what's...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. During this morning's class, there was a nice question. Bhakti-Vilas Tirtha Swami, there was an image from this morning's class where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had established, or his followers had established for him, a Pushpa Samadhi by the side of Radhakund, or not near, very near to Radhakund, in the Radhakund area. And there were three: Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta, and then some unnamed, unpictured person, Bhakti-Vilas Tirtha Maharaj. Any other outstanding? Because otherwise we're going to move on. Going once. Okay. I have two quiz questions. There are 9 processes of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, etc. And traditionally there are names assigned to persons who achieve perfection through one of those 9. Who is the person who achieved perfection through Shravanam? Maharaj Parikshit. Is he right? Yes, confirmed. The one who achieved perfection through Kirtanam, Shukadeva Goswami. So those are our first two, refreshing our introductory topics from yesterday. The plan during this visit is to speak something about very important personalities, great personalities who were introduced to us, and those the readers of Srimad Bhagavatam, in Canto 1. And there's some very elevated personalities, and some classes are going to be really long because there's a lot to say about them. But Maharaj Parikshit is one of those personalities. And we'll begin by describing different names by which Maharaj Parikshit is known. One of them is his name, Parikshit, name by which he is known. And the reference is Canto 1, Chapter 12, Text 30. Here we see the Sanskrit Anudhyayan Parikshita. He was constantly contemplating, because he constantly contemplated the Lord whom he had seen in the womb and searched for him among all men. He was famous as Parikshit, the examiner in this world. Ikshita, Parikshita. Is this Krishna? Is this Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? His whole life. That is to say, calamity can sometimes be a great fortune. Calamity generally doesn't feel like great fortune. It feels like calamity. And sometimes calamity can be a great fortune. In the case of Maharaj Parikshit, it was to give him an opportunity to, even before he's born, to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, which means several things. It means he's a very special personality. We're going to hear as we go along who he was before he was Maharaj Parikshit is not identified, but the fact that he was whoever he was, great devotee of the Lord, giving mercy to, being given mercy to by the Supreme Lord, with the circumstance being a calamity circumstance. So the examiner, he was fully Krishna conscious while in the womb. Who can claim that one? And fully Krishna conscious every moment thereafter. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? How he was. There's a little history. I'd like to give a little history. This is story time. There was a circumstance, because we're going to be hearing one of the evenings. We're going to be hearing about the Pandavas. And how are you going to say anything about the Pandavas without telling the whole Mahabharata? So you can't do that. So doing a sneak preview. But it'll be in the Kunti section. So one fine day, while the Pandavas, it's a very nice description, while the Pandavas were in hiding, not banished into the forest, but they were hiding. There's circumstances. The Swayamvar ceremony of Draupadi was arranged. And when the Swayamvar ceremony of Draupadi was arranged, Arjuna won the hand of Draupadi. Do you know the story?
Yeah.
Okay, what was the target that he was supposed to hit? Do you remember?
Fish.
Tell some details.
It was a fish. Reflection. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he was supposed to hit a fish by looking at his reflection.
Yeah, and there was one more detail. This something something rotating, right?
Yeah, it was rotating, and he had to hit it in the eye by looking just at the reflection.
Yeah, but besides the reflection and looking down to see something that's up, that's like gymnastics. But then there's something rotating. When was the something rotating? Who knows the something rotating?
The wheel that was rotating
Yeah,
with the spokes in.
like that's impossible. But it was possible because he's Arjuna, showing off, showing his archery skill. So he won the hand of Draupadi. And there was a big, skirmish after he won the hand of Draupadi. And there was Karna who felt insulted because he wasn't allowed to be a competitor, although he could have won the hand of Draupadi, and Draupadi didn't want to marry Karna. Long story. But it built up the animosity, the specific animosity of Karna towards Draupadi. And so he did stuff later that was really dirty because of get back. Anyway, so Arjuna brought his new wife back to meet the mother. Guess what, Mom? We have a great jewel that we received. She said, very well, just share amongst yourselves. She's inside the room and they're outside the room, knocking on the, hey, Mom. So she uttered, very well, you share it amongst yourselves. Like, don't be envious and share it amongst yourselves. And then once Draupadi came in the room, how is this possible? So we're going to hear the whole detail. It's a very nice detail. So not only how are they going to, what's virtuous, because they live by virtue. How can 5 men marry 1 woman? It's different if, one man marrying 5 queens. But the reverse is unheard of in Vedic culture. So what to do? they consulted Vyas. That's what to do. And not only they consulted, but they together, Draupadi went to the home of her father, King Drupad, and Vyas in the assembly. It's a really nice section. This is a preamble of what you're going to hear about Kunti. Vyas revealed in her previous life, she was the daughter of a king. And as the daughter of a king, she worshipped Lord Shiva very ardently. And when he came before her, he asked any benediction you like. And 5 times she was very clear about what she wanted. 5 times she wanted a qualified husband. She wanted a qualified husband. He said, very well, you'll have 5 husbands in your next life. So and what Lord Shiva says can never be something that's against principles of Dharma. So it's authorized. Lord Shiva said, Vyasadeva said that Lord Shiva said, so be it. Then he took King Drupad to a separate place and gave him darshan of who the Pandavas were before they were the Pandavas. And he saw that they carried with them the radiance of Lord Indra. They were from a celestial realm, and they came into this realm. And so it's authorized on your daughter's side, and they're the qualified persons. Drupad fell off his straw mat and said, wow, Vyasadeva, your powers are unlimited, and I'm convinced my daughter can marry 5 men. So the deal was done, and they married. And the mother, in order to prevent even the possibility of envy, of course there would be on envy, but to prevent even the creeping in of envy, she made a statement, or like just, she just, Mama said. And Kunti said that each of the 5 of you will be with Kunti for a month. The other 4, where the one who is with Draupadi, the others you stay away, and then you take turns in this way, and you'll each be satisfied being in the presence of Draupadi. So that was, she just said, but it was binding upon all of the members. Then something happened. There's always something that happens, some misfortune. There were some dacoits that were stealing cows. And the cowherd men came to the aid. They came to Arjuna, help. So Arjuna, to immediately respond to the help, he went into the very room where Yudhishthira and Draupadi were, got his weapons, and went and chased the dacoits away and returned the cows back to the cowherds. And when all that was taken care of, because he's a Kshatriya, Kshatriya's business is to protect. So when he came back, he apologized to Yudhishthira and said, I'm offender to our mother. She said, and I violated what she said. So I need to atone for my misdeed. Do you like Mahabharata? I go, do you like Mahabharata? Yeah, I'm telling a Mahabharata story. Okay. It's a nice story. And it leads into Srimad Bhagavatam also. It's a really nice one. You got to pay attention. Okay, good. So he said, I want to purify myself for violating the instruction given by our mother. And Yudhishthira said, what you did was the right thing. They didn't do anything wrong. their duty is to protect. And what our mother said, okay, and then your duty is to protect. So that takes precedent. You do your duty. He said, no, I violated the instruction of my mother. So I'm going to go on pilgrimage for a whole year to purify myself for the misdeed of violating my mother's instruction. Young boys and girls, take note. Mama says, you do what Mama says, right? Unless she says something cuckoo, then you don't, that's another story. But okay, so within the codes of Dharma. So there was that guided their life because they're dharmic, all five. And that was what protected, the Dharma protected them. They protected Dharma and Dharma protected, the nice saying, one who protects Dharma is protected by Dharma. So he's on pilgrimage. And lots of things happened when he was on pilgrimage. And I'm not going to tell the whole what happened on pilgrimage. But you can tell it later. Because you like to read Mahabharata, right? Okay. Maybe you ask Mom to show you where in Mahabharata it tells where where Arjuna went on pilgrimage. And, together with Mom, you could read that whole section. He went in a southerly direction, all the way down to the southern tip of India and then back up the west coast. And it took him 8 months. And then at the end of 8 months, he got all the way to Dwarka. And what's Dwarka famous for? Place where Krishna is. And he's Krishna's devotee. He's Krishna's devotee. He's Krishna's eternal friend and devotee. So when he got to, he's going as Arjuna the Kshatriya on pilgrimage, and there was he sent a messenger. It's really nice. This is now Bhagavatam. He sent a messenger, chapter 86 of 10th canto, to let Krishna know that he was outside the city of Dwarka. When Krishna received the messenger, Krishna didn't invite him in. Krishna went to see him. And, Arjuna, oh, how wonderful that you've come. Like Krishna didn't know he was coming. And, of course, he's omniscient. It was all part of a Leela. This is our Leela Shakti discussion from yesterday, continuing today. So discussion. And Arjuna happened to ask Krishna about his sister. Did Krishna have a sister? What was his sister's name? Subhadra. Very good. You read Mahabharata. Fantastic. Little children's stories of Srimad Bhagavatam and things like that. I wish I did stuff like that when I was your age. I was doing some other foolish things, but you're very fortunate. Krishna has blessed you somehow. So he asked about Subhadra, and the detail, the commentary says, he heard about Subhadra from a resident of Dwarka named Gada, because Gada was also one of Krishna's cousins, and Gada had gone to be trained under Dronacharya along with the Pandavas and others when Dronacharya was training military skills. And Gada informed Arjuna about Krishna's sister, Subhadra. And it was just hearing about Subhadra, it was woo, 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 Subhadra. I want to meet Subhadra. So he disclosed that to Krishna when they're together outside Dwarka. And Krishna made a suggestion. Well, if you want to get a chance even to see her, you've heard about her, but if you want to see her, here's what you need to do. You need to go not in your attire as a kshatriya, but you need to go in disguise as a sannyasi. And here's why. Because she, Subhadra, is in the care of our elder brother. Because in Vedic culture, elder brothers have their privileges. And he, Balaram, the elder brother, was super protective of the sister. In fact, she was in his palace and she wasn't seen by anyone except when Balaram, who had a liking to invite mendicants to come to his palace to have his meal, to have their meal, you can see her because Balaram will invite you. And sure enough, that's what happened. So he went into the city in a mendicant's attire. Balaram invited him, and sure enough, the one who served the meal was Subhadra. And it was love at first sight. She was attracted to him, he was attracted to her, woo, 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 one of those. And it happened several times because he was there for the 4 months of the rainy season. So in the course of 4 months, there were several invitations. And in the course of the invitation, Krishna asked Arjuna, what do you think? It was a positive green signal. He then met with, because he's Subhadra was his sister, he asked Subhadra, what did you think of this mendicant that our brother invited in? He's very attractive. But your brother wants you to marry Duryodhana. What do you think of that? Oh, Duryodhana. Forget it. No way do I want to marry Duryodhana. That was enough. Like she was attracted to Arjuna. And Arjuna was attracted to her. And she had no idea whatsoever to marry Duryodhana. And Krishna said to Arjuna, nobody in the whole of Dwarka, none of the Vrishni dynasty members liked this idea. And Balaram's like stuck on this idea. And he's my elder brother. What to do? Here's what to do. There's a special holiday, one special holiday where Subhadra leaves Balaram's palace to go to a temple of Lakshmi, and the temple of Lakshmi is placed on a palanquin or a rath cart, a festival cart, and she goes outside Balaram's palace. Take my chariot. Krishna's chariot was part of the plan. Take my chariot, come in your Kshatriya attire, and scoop her up and put her on the back of your chariot. Arjuna trusted Krishna, and he did what Krishna said, and he scooped up Subhadra. It wasn't the Swayamvar ceremony. It was like she was going to take part in a religious festival. He scooped her up and put her on the back of her chariot. And the Yadu dynasty and Vrishni dynasty members were up in arms. Stop him! Then Balaram called for an assembly in the assembly hall, and noise. And this is an insult. Gather your armor, go and catch up with this person and let him have it. We can't kill him because that's not proper, but capture him and bring him back. And everyone was going, yeah. Capture him and bring him back. And Krishna was silent. So Balaram has the elder brother, but he turned to the younger brother because he didn't want to do something that was against what Krishna wanted. And, Krishna, you're silent. Why are you silent? Please share with us. Just in the public assembly, big hall. And Krishna said, it's not an insult, it's an honor. And then went through multiple reasons why. It's what he did was the noble thing to do. And if it was an arranged marriage, he'd accept dowry, and he's not going to take money for a person. It's like slavery. That's not Arjuna. It's a Kshatriya program, and it's very noble. And if they marry, then the Yadu dynasty and the Kuru dynasty will have a union. I think it's very nice. Instead of capturing him and bringing and put him in jail, capture him, bring them both back, and let's have a marriage tomorrow. 180, just like that. Balaram accepted what Krishna said. Balaram accepted what Krishna said. And they did catch up with him. And one of the things Krishna said, you won't catch him anyway because it's my chariot. They caught him because that's Leela Shakti. And they brought him back, and there was a big marriage. So Krishna orchestrated the marriage of Arjuna and Subhadra. Oh, this is something else that I wanted to narrate, but you'll hear when we get to Kunti. Vyasadeva expressed to Drupad that your daughter is not ordinary, besides who she was in her previous life. She is an incarnation of the goddess of fortune. So she should have proper protection. And this is proper protection. These are the celestial capacity of these Pandavas in their previous lives. So Draupadi is an expansion of the goddess of fortune. Subhadra is the goddess of fortune. And Subhadra married Arjuna. So Arjuna's got two of his wives, the goddess of fortune and the expansion of goddess of fortune. A very special person, Arjuna. And after some time, a son was born. And the son that was born, his name was Abhimanyu. And when the battle began, so Arjun's pilgrimage was 16 years before. It just gives us, the Bhagavatam is not always chronological. It's very logical, but not chronological. But so 16 years later, the Kurukshetra battle begins, and the first child to be killed, the first person to be killed in the battle was Abhimanyu, a 16-year-old young man, was a terror. And he was ripping to pieces the entire army. He was really a heroic fighter. And so what happened was 7 generals ganged up on Abhimanyu and killed him. That's like a no-no, a dharmic no-no. You don't do such things. And they did it. Later, after Arjun's marriage with, the battle hasn't happened yet, they're still in this position of in exile for some number of years, and 1 year they were in incognito. So it's a long description. Mahabharata is very complex and detailed. They went to the kingdom of King Virat, and while there, we're going to hear some more of the details coming up. Each of the 5 plus Draupadi, who traveled with them incognito, Queen Kunti stayed back in Hastinapur as they were traveling. So Arjuna took the role of all things as a dance teacher. And he was a good dance teacher. I mean, he's good with bow and arrow, but he's good as a dance teacher too. So he had as his student the daughter of King Virat, Uttara. So although there was a big age difference between Uttara and Arjuna, the king he made the request, please marry my daughter. And Arjuna said, if he went by a different name, Agyata Vasa said to the king, she's my student. The teacher can't marry the student. It's not dharmic. But here's some good news. The age of your daughter and the age of my son, Abhimanyu, is very close. Maybe your daughter can marry my son. King liked it. They became married. So Uttara became the wife of Abhimanyu. And when Abhimanyu was killed, the very first day of the 18-day battle, he was only 16 years old when this happened. They ganged up, and 7 generals ganged up on him. And later, when it was an arrangement of Dronacharya's son Ashvatthama, he wanted to, the son of a Brahmana did non-Brahmana stuff. So Dvijabandhu, but he had skills because he had mantras, and he released the Brahmastra weapon, as you know. And so Maharaj Parikshit was in the womb of Uttara, because Ashvatthama had already killed the 5 sleeping sons of the Pandavas, and they left just one male heir in their descendancy, and that was in the womb of Uttara. So he sent the Brahmastra weapon to kill the child in her womb. Now, here's a little detail. Who Maharaj Parikshit was in his previous life is not identified specifically whom. But so here's Uttara's prayers to Krishna, requesting Krishna to protect the child in her womb. Oh, my Lord, you are all-powerful. A fiery iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, Uttara is addressing Krishna. Let it burn me personally if you so desire, but please do not let it burn and abort my embryo. Please do me this favor, my Lord. So she's saying it 3 times. And this is in Canto 1, Chapter 8. That's the Queen Kunti section. Kunti's prayers come in that chapter. But so here's a nice BBT painting. There's the Brahmastra scorching, and there's Maharaj Parikshit being protected by Krishna. So here's another nice painting. Therefore, another name of, because this topic is names of Parikshit, Viraha. Viraha, courage in battle. Kshatriyas are courageous in battle, but he was courageous in the womb. By his natural courage, he was not afraid of the fire of the Brahmastra weapon. His mother was, but Krishna came, and because once Brahmastras are released, it's one of the rules, you can't stop it. But Krishna can stop it because he can do anything. So he checked that fiery weapon. So we have now 2 names, Parikshit, the examiner, Viraha, very courageous, Vishnu, Ratha, always protected by Vishnu, and other names. He was known as sometimes as Bharata because he was descendant of Bharata, and Rika Nrishu, tiger amongst men. You see the reference, chapter 18 of first canto. Now here's a chart that's hard to see, but you can see the big circle around the bottom right. That's Parikshit with a circle around him. And you see just above him, his mother's name is Uttara. And to her name is in green, is Abhimanyu, and Uttara had as their son Parikshit. Can you see all this? Yeah? Boy, congratulations. Because I didn't know how to change the colors. If somebody knows how to change colors of all this, I can send you the slide and you can fix the colors so it's easier to see. So Abhimanyu, as it shows, was the son of Subhadra, up there on the green in the upper right, and Arjuna. And then, so there's the 5 Pandavas, and keep going up. There's Madri and there's Kunti as the mothers of the Pandavas. And then there's Pandu, and just keep going up and up and up. So it's a lineage chart. So Parikshit's down towards the bottom of that lineage chart. When Maharaj Parikshit was born, it was a big deal because he's the sole male child from the Pandava dynasty. And so when he was born, Yudhishthira was really concerned because he's going to be the next king. So he got the best of astrologers to make astrological prediction about what was this child going to be like when he grows up. And it's a pretty good reading when you hear all the good things about his astrological reading. This is just a painting from the internet indicating the arrangement that was made at the time of his birth for the astrological forecast. From the Bhagavatam, Yudhishthira inquired, "O great souls, astrologers, will he become a saintly king, as pious as his very name, as famous and glorified in his achievements as others who appeared in this great royal family?" And the astrologers said, "Yes. The child shall be exactly like King Ikshvaku, son of Manu, in maintaining all those who are born." Of course, the duty of the king is to maintain those who are born in the kingdom. So he's the protector of his kingdom, members. As far as following Brahminical principles, especially in being true to his promise, he shall be exactly like Rama. Exactly like, not Rama, but exactly like. So a follower of, the caliber of, incarnation of the personality of Godhead. One of the indicators of Lord Ramachandra is that he was the perfect maintainer of Dharma. Maryada Purushottama. Maryada Purushottama. You've heard that phrase before? Here's what it means. Maryada Purushottama is Purusha Uttama, the Supreme Person. And Maryada means one who upholds principles of Dharma. So in Ram's Leela, his specific gift to the world was to show by example, perfectly upholding in all circumstances, principles of Dharma. So like Lord Rama, he'll be exactly like him, true, especially in being true to his promise. Like Ramachandra kept a promise. He made a promise and he kept his promise. Because people that are virtuous, be careful what you promise. And if you promise, be careful to maintain what you promise. One of the things I learned early in the Hare Krishna movement It made sense too. A man is only as good as his word. Have you heard that phrase before? And I was young. I mean, a little older than you guys, but, young. A man is only as good as his word. You give your word, you keep your word. You give your word and do something else, not so good. So Maharaj Parikshit will uphold his word, like Lord Ramachandra upheld his word. This child will be a munificent donor of charity and protector of the surrendered, like the famous King Shibi. There's a very nice description of King Shibi found in the Bhagavatam. And to examine it was told that King Shibi was very charitable and very, very, very much into protecting his citizens. So to examine his capacity, both Indra, who took the shape of an eagle, and Agni took the shape of a pigeon, and the eagle was chasing the pigeon. And the pigeon flew into the lap of King Shibi. And the eagle somehow was able to talk and communicated to King Shibi, give me that pigeon, that's my meal. And the king said, well, what if I gave you some other kind of meat besides this pigeon? Would that suffice? And the eagle refused. But later, discussion, the king decided to cut flesh from his own body and place it on a scale that would be of equal weight as the pigeon. But the pigeon was not just a pigeon. The pigeon was Agni. So the pigeon got heavier and heavier, and it didn't balance out. So the king put himself on the balance. He was sacrificing his own life for the eagle. And they were very satisfied. The eagle disclosed, I'm Indra, Haribol. And the pigeon disclosed, I'm Agni, Haribol. You demonstrated this charitableness and the protection of your citizens to such a degree, we'd like to give you some benediction. So but Shibi, that was one of the things that Shibi is known for, is the protector of the surrendered, like the famous King Shibi. That's what the astrologers said. Apparently they knew some Bhagavatam and Mahabharata also. He will expand the name and fame of his family like Bharata, the son of Maharaj Dushyanta. Amongst great bowmen, the child will be as good as Arjuna. Now, who's as good as Arjuna? Maharaj Parikshit. He'll be as irresistible as fire, as unsurpassable as the ocean, as strong as a lion, as worthy a shelter as the Himalaya mountains, forbearing like the earth, as tolerant as his parents. And he has more long list. Like his grandfather Yudhishthir, or Brahma in equanimity of mind, munificent like the Lord of the Kailash hill, Lord Shiva, almost as good as Lord Sri Krishna by following in his footsteps, as magnanimous as King Rantidev, as religious as Maharaj Yayati, like Bali Maharaj in patience, like Prahlad in devotion. He's got some credential, this newborn child. After hearing about his death, this is forecast, which will be caused by the bite of a snake bird sent by the son of a Brahmana, he will get himself freed from all material attachment and surrender to the personality of Godhead, taking shelter of him. After inquiring about proper self-knowledge from the son of Vyasadeva, that's Shukadev, we heard about him yesterday, who will be a great philosopher, he will renounce all material attachment and achieve a life of fearlessness. So Yudhisthira got an answer to his question. Is this son going to be a qualified person to bear all the weight and responsibility of the emperor of the world? And he got a good answer from Maharaj Parikshit before he was born and from the time of his birth. He was very unique. We find the description about his early childhood. He liked Krishna's pastimes. Little children like to play, and he liked to play with his friends about Krishna's pastimes. Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur concur. He would imitate his little boy, but little boys do little boy things, and he knew Krishna's pastimes, so with his friends, he would be like a choreographer and director and actor, and, they would all play Krishna's pastimes together. Specifically his pastimes in Vrindavan. Sridhar Swami's comment on this particular statement from the Bhagavatam, Maharaj Parikshit used to imitate the worship of the family deity by elderly members. So that's another characteristic of sometimes found. We heard this morning, in case some of you weren't attending, today was honoring the disappearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. When he was just 6 years old, his father gave him a deity because he saw his father worshiping. He saw his son was qualified. 6-year-old boy. They have not just dolls, but a deity of kurma. And the question was, why kurma? Because kurma establishes a foundation in bhakti and in life. So that's what his father did. He gave him a kurma deity. And then when he was 13, he gave him Gayatri mantra, and then another deity that from Bhaktisiddhanta's childhood he was worshipping. And throughout his life he worshipped. So deity worship is an important part of the more qualified young person's training. And Maharaj Parikshit had that quality. Now we're going to hear something about his character. So just step back for a moment. The request was to speak something about the great personalities found in first canto of the Bhagavatam. So Maharaj Parikshit is the subject for this evening. Now we're going to hear about his exemplary character. And we're going to go through this list: the kingly responsibilities, meeting adversities in life, how he accepted saintly association, and how he met death, these 4. So starting with the first one, how he accepted responsibilities as a king. Here's a verse from Canto 1, Chapter 16. He is the emperor. And after Krishna's departure, Kali Yuga begins. Shortly after. And when Kali Yuga begins, things start to deteriorate. So he, with his power, his valiant efforts, he went around here and there, didn't stay in his capital city, went with his armies and conquered all parts of the earth planet. There's a list of these where he went, and exacted tributes from their respective rulers. So one of those times that he was traveling here and there, much to his surprise, he had an encounter with the personality of Kali. And the painting is showing the personality of Kali had a club, and with his club, he was breaking the legs of a bull. And 3 legs were already broken. 1 leg was trembling, and Maharaj Parikshit saw this and immediately raised his sword, like he's going to chop him. And being very clever, the personality of Kali fell at his feet because I'm surrendered to you. Please spare my life. You're the protector of those who surrender unto you. Yes, what I did was bad, but I'm surrendering unto you. Please protect me. So he's a virtuous king. He was ready to chop him, but he's ready to give him a place. But you can't do any of this dirty business in my kingdom. So you can stay. You know the story. You can stay where these sinful activities are going on. The 4 regular principles. That's where the 4 regular principles come from. By the way, the 4 legs of the bull or Dharma, and these 4 things. So where these 4 things are going on, you can stay. And personality Kali said, well, wait a minute, there's none of that in your kingdom. So give me a place where I can stay. He said, all right, where there's hoarding of gold, these things will take place. Oh, very good. So Kali, in this age, it said specifically in the purports, Prabhupada explains, Maharaj Parikshit could have killed him, but he didn't for 2 reasons. He surrendered. But the other reason was, it's the age of Kali. It's Krishna's, it's part of the plan. And Krishna can't, the devotee, Maharaj Parikshit, can't interrupt Krishna's plan. So he spared his life. Because the age of Kali can't be taken away by a king or by a devotee. So he didn't kill him. It would have been nice. But he didn't. Here's another nice painting of the same. There's Maharaj Parikshit with a sword raised. The illustration is meant to show that gambling, meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex. Same in this drawing. Same. This one's a BBT. The other looks like a comic book illustration or something. So that's his character. Now, how did he care for the citizens? Because he's the king, and the king is a protector and extended genuine care. So, as an indication of his care for his citizens, when he's cursed to die and he accepted the curse, I'm begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons. He's about to die. He's not, save my backside. He's thinking of the citizens, the praja. He's the prajapati, and he's thinking of the citizens. The way of perfection for all persons, and especially for one who is about to die. So it's an indication of his heart or his mood. Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not do. Please explain all this to me. He's going to be gone in 7 days. He's asking for the welfare of the citizens, not just for himself. That's the point. And life's adversities. Well, there's a very clear example of that. These are little illustrations. One time he was on tour, because it's part of a duty of a king. Sometimes kings have to meet big challenges. So he would go into the forest with sword in hand and encounter wild animals and have it out with them. like you're fearless. So to practice that, he was in the forest. And when he was in the forest, he, completely out of character for him, he became overwhelmed with thirst. I mean, sometimes we get thirsty, but get overwhelmed, that's not Maharaj Parikshit. But he got overwhelmed. In other words, it was orchestrated by Leela Shakti. Overwhelmed. And when he came overwhelmed, he came to the cottage of a sage that was in meditation. He knows what somebody in meditation, they're not going to respond. And he became angry with the sage because he didn't speak to him, because he was in meditation. And he didn't offer him a glass of water because he was thirsty. And so this is, an interesting, looks like an artificial intelligence, artificial characterization. This is the BBT illustration. There was a dead snake outside his cottage, and on the tip of his sword, he picked up the dead snake from outside his cottage and placed the dead snake on the neck of the sage, Shamakrishi. And somehow, it doesn't say how, somehow, somebody sent him a text message maybe, he found out what had been done to his father. And so when he heard what had been done to his father, he is a little Brahmin boy, Shringi, he uttered a curse that this person who's offended my father should die with a bite of a snake bird. There's no such thing. There's snakes and there's birds, but there's not snake birds. Snakes don't fly. And birds don't crawl on the ground like snakes do. But so it's a mystical entity, a snake bird. And the painting at the bottom is meant to show he went to tell his father what happened. He felt so sorry for his father. He confessed to his father. The cursing, here's another drawing showing the same thing. And when the son found out, he cursed Maharaj Parikshit to die. Now, why did he become angry like this? Because the sage in Samadhi didn't offer him water? That's a little extreme, isn't it? It's not him. To become angry in such a grave situation was not unnatural for a king, but because the king himself was not less than a great saint, his becoming angry and taking action were astonishing. Krishna's influence, that's the understanding. So when he heard that he was told, when the son told the father sent a messenger to Maharaj Parikshit, I'm very sorry to say this, but in 7 days you're going to die because my son did this thing. Here's Srila Prabhupada commenting on his response. Even if you have got very good kingdom, very nice wife, very nice society, how long? And if there's any mistake, next, you can get something else. But Parikshit Maharaja's life, from childhood, he's a devotee of Krishna. So he accepted. He could have counteracted, he could have done all kinds of things. Here's a painting showing the father came, that's on the left, the Brahmin told the king what his son had done. The king is sitting on the throne, there's Maharaj Parikshit, informing him what happened. And he felt very, very bad. He already felt bad. As soon as he put the snake around the sage's neck, he felt bad. Now he's hearing, I didn't feel bad because I'm going to get spanked because I did something bad. He's just recognizing very grievous offense. Kshatriya to offend a Brahmana. Very bad. So there's going to be a big reaction come, and I accept it. So immediately upon hearing, this is when adversity comes. He was teaching by example. We should learn from his example. Detachment and acceptance. Now, sometimes you may take some counteractive measures for something or something or something. That's an option that the intelligence can discern. However, deep detachment and acceptance that some responsibility for my bad action, it comes to me, so be it. So this is Prabhupada in similar lecture, Los Angeles, 1972. This was the curse given to him. He accepted. He could counteract it. Parikshit Maharaj was Vaishnava. He was very powerful, but he thought, yes, I'm an offender. The Brahmana boy has cursed me, I shall accept it. And so he gave up his kingdom. Who did he give this kingdom to? Remember? Starts with a J. The son of Maharaj Parikshit starts with a J. Janamejaya. Does it ring a bell? Yes? Janamejaya. You're going to become a nice Vaishnava scholar one day. May Krishna bless you. You too, but it's pretty remarkable young boy. Okay. So he gave up his royal attire, turned over the kingdom to Janamejaya, and went to the side of the Ganges, invited. We heard the long invitation list yesterday. You have that long invitation list from yesterday? Somebody sent you the text message of who was invited. So it's a big list. And the purpose was how to prepare himself and to create auspiciousness. Both. He prepared himself for death. For 7 days he placed himself on the bank of the Ganges without drinking a drop of water. And for 7 days continually, he heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami. Same lecture, same verse from the Bhagavatam. And we're getting close to being finished for this evening. Responsibility to saintly association. This is one of the 4 items that we saw at the beginning. He had the capacity to fast 7 days and 7 nights without water. How did he become overwhelmed with thirst? It's out of character. He became fearless when the narration was completed. So there's certain statements. I have heard from you the Srimad Bhagavatam, which was the perfect summary of the Puranas, and which was perfectly describes the Supreme Lord Uttama Shloka. My Lord, I now have no fear of Takshaka or any other living being, or even of repeated deaths, because I have absorbed myself in that purely spiritual, absolute truth, which you have revealed and which destroys all fear. So he's speaking these words, kneeling before Shukadeva Goswami. O Brahmana, please give me permission to resign my speech and the functions of all my senses unto Lord Adhokshaja. Now there's a detail that comes at the end. And the detail that comes at the end has to do with Kashyapa Muni. Kashyapa Muni was on his way to the place where the snake bird was supposed to come. And when he was going to where the snake bird was supposed to come, he had this mantra and antidote for poison. Who should he meet but Takshaka disguised? had mystical powers because a mystical being, and he appeared as a nice Brahmin. So he asked Kashyapa Muni, "Where are you headed?" He said, "I'm going to the place where there's going to be a snake bird is going to come and bite the king, and I'm going to reduce the poison so he can live." And the disguised Takshika as a Brahmana said, "Really? Let me see how powerful your skill is." So he, Takshika, assumed the form of a serpent, and he bit a tree, and the tree instantly burst into flames. And when the tree instantly burst into flames, he indicated to to Kashyapa Muni, "Now let's see you fix it." So with his mantras and his whatever he did, the tree very quickly restored back to a normal tree. So Takshika put 2 and 2 together and came up with 4 and said, if I kill Maharaj Parikshit, he's going to bring him back to life. So mission not accomplished, mission spoiled. So he asked Kashyapa, when you do this little service, are you expecting some dakshin? He said, "Oh, of course, it's just medical procedure." He said, "I'll tell you what, I'll give you a whole bunch of dakshin. Don't go." And so that's the BBT painting in the lower right. That fellow with this basket that has a mound of valuables, that's Kashyapa Muni, who didn't go there. And then Takshika switched again from the form of a Brahmana, worked his way into the assembly, right up to where Maharaj Parikshit was, and bit him, and just like he did with the tree, burst into flames. And that's the end of Maharaj Parikshit. That's the end of our narration also. Shukadev Goswami ki jai, Maharaj Parikshit ki jai. And the place that when we went to Rishikesh and Haridwar and those places, we visited the exact place, the tree under which Maharaj Parikshit heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami. And I'm not going to go through that too much, but that's the place. And here's the tree. At least they say that this is the tree. And 80,000 sages were present. And you brought your microphone system. No, to Sukratal. 5,000 years ago. $80,000 people. How did they hear? It's fiction, right? It's not. It didn't really happen. Not fiction. How it was possible? Who knows? Here's some quote from Canto 1, Chapter 19. When he was assured of his death and a fixed date, he became more determined in the transcendental loving service of Lord Krishna by complete fasting on the bank of the transcendental river Yamuna. Now, we've heard 6 times the Ganga. And now here's some explanation by Jiva Goswami saying, no, it's actually the Yamuna. Here's his commentary. The king took shelter on the bank of the Yamuna appears to be more accurate because of the geographic location. Maharaj Parikshit resided in his capital in Hastinapur, and the river Yamuna flows down past the city. Naturally, the king would take shelter of the river Yamuna because she was flowing past his palace door. We're almost done. This is the last slide. The goal of a person engaged, Canto 3, Chapter 13. The goal of a person engaged in hearing scripture from the Guru for a long time, praised by the great devotees, is hearing the glories of those in whose hearts Mukunda resides. Sukratal, Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadev Goswami. So that's our first two personalities. It's 10 minutes to 8. I've gone for an hour and 20 minutes. And we'll have some questions and answers. And some of the other classes are going to be longer. I don't know how it's going to work out, but we'll see how it works out. I have an idea how it's going to work out. See if there's some discussion. Oh, look at this. You're next.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. 2 comments. Maharaj, I believe in the slide where the Agyatavasa was happening at King Virata's palace when they went into the incognito exile. I believe I'm 99.99% sure that Arjuna's name during that time was Brihannala.
Yeah,
As
that's
a dance
right.
teacher, yeah. And I think again the way
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
The way the slide was formatted was just like Agyatavasa symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And second comment, Maharaj, is just thank you for bringing up Lord Rama's character, because in preparation for Sri Lanka Yatra, I've been trying to immerse myself in Ramayana, and I was just thinking, like, refining character is so important. Like, I speaking for myself, can't think like, okay, I have good character and that's it. I'm a good charactered person. It's a process of refinement as you go from one stage of your life to another stage of your life. You're constantly refining your character. So thank you for bringing that up, Maharaj.
A little clue about using this microphone. If you hold it too close to your mouth, it's hard to hear. Hold it too far away, it's hard to hear. Somewhere in between.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. So I had a question on.
Thank you for being attentive. All 3 of you, all 4 of you. You're the older one, right? Of this little row. You're the older one, right? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I had a question on. So when Shringi cursed Maharaj Parikshit to be bitten by a snake bird, so how did Takshak get to know about it? Was he forced to do it, or was it his own will?
It was, that's a nice question. My understanding goes like this: the Brahmanas have powers that are extraordinary. Who can utter something and then it happens because you utter it. So my understanding is like this: the entity Takshaka was created by the mantra. So wasn't all living entities, because they're part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, have free will. So your question is a free will question. Did he will it, or was it forced upon him? He has free will, but lower life forms, the leash of the extent of their free will is very much diminished. They're very much impelled by the modes of nature. And so let's just say a dog. To get the body of a dog, there's a certain karma and guna that goes with it. Yet there's some dogs that are very peaceful and some dogs that are very aggressive. It has a lot to do with the modes of nature that it's impacting their growling and barking and biting and, doing mean stuff. And some that are just very docile. And somewhere in between. So now back to your question. Takshaka, my understanding is, Takshaka was a mystical entity, and therefore at the beck and call of the mystic, the mystical potency moving, and thus his choices of, examining Kashyapa and how he did what he did and so forth and so on. So the intelligence is given from Supersoul to perform a particular activity. How does a cat know go in the kitchen when the housewife is not around and get the milk? Or there's some sugar on the floor, and how do the ants know there's sugar on the floor? I don't know how they know, but Supersoul gives them the intelligence they can go and do. So are they making, when the ant goes, when Takshaka goes, is he making choice? Or is he just impelled by the force of the mantra and, he's got a duty to do, so he just does it without thinking anything? That's kind of what your question is. To some degree, there's free will simply because there's a living entity. Wherever there's a living entity, part and parcel of Krishna, there's some free will. But the extent of the exercise of free will is very restricted in lower life forms. Very restricted. So one wills, and the impelling force of modes of nature and karma, what to speak of a mystical entity, it's largely impelled by the force of nature and the force of mysticism. Maybe it's an overcomplicated answer to your question, but that's the best I can do.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. In the back, all the way in the back, all the way in the back, all the way in the back. Just pass the microphone.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the very nice class. My question is on a slide where the glories of Parikshit Maharaj is being predicted by the astrologers.
Okay.
And twice it says there, he gives up his material attachments. And my question is, Parikshit Maharaj is a devotee from the womb itself. So what material attachments are being talked about? And if that is the case about Parikshit Maharaj, then what is the hope for people like me?
This is a Madhurya Kandambani question. What I mean by that is there's gradations. In the gradations of eradication of anarthas, there are 3 stages of bhakti. This is a Madhurya Kandambani answer to your question. Sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, prema bhakti, the 3 divisions that are taught in Nectar of Devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And up to and just prior to bhava, there's still imperfections or anarthas, unwanted things, residual tendencies remaining. When the bhava stage comes, it's almost complete. And the prema stage is gone. Everything squeaky clean. So now, Parikshit wasn't a sadhaka. He's a great devotee, protected by Krishna, but great devotees protected by Krishna. Like, for example, Narada Muni, narrating his previous life before he was Narada Muni. Back in the previous day of Brahma before he was Narada Muni. We're going to be hearing about Narada Muni in 2 days in detail. He had already seen and then he heard the personality of Godhead. As Maharaj Parikshit saw, he didn't hear, but he saw the personality of Godhead, so he's a great devotee. And Narada Muni had to continue because the voice that he heard Narada in his previous life heard the Lord say, normally I don't show myself before one has become completely purified. But to encourage you, I've shown my form to you, but you won't see me again for the rest of your life. So there's parallels. It's not 100% identical, but there's parallels between Maharaj Parikshit's great qualification and these predictions. But then you're back to your question. What's remaining? Then the second, what's the hope for me? The same hope for you is there for anyone. Just this morning, I was hearing Srila Prabhupada speaking in Los Angeles to a verse from chapter 4 Bhagavad Gita, saying you can all become like me. One can all become squeaky clean. The hope is Krishna is very kind, and the process of bhakti brings one to that position. Potentially can bring one to that position. So he wasn't in that position yet. So that's the residual. Now, to put a pin on what were those residual things, that's another question. It doesn't say that. It says what it says. There's further detail without naming the names, that there's all kinds of nice Sanskrit terminology of degrees of perfection within the realm of perfection. So he who can say he was a pure devotee, rightly so, he was a pure devotee, and became more perfect, to the point where everything was taken, and he had total shelter in the personality of Godhead. It's not the same, but it's similar, because we're going to hear about it. Grandfather Bhishma and his passing. his senses, pratyahara, his senses were engaged in worldly activity in Krishna consciousness. And at a certain point, he's asking permission from Shukadeva Goswami, may I withdraw my consciousness from the world and take full shelter in the personality of Godhead. So it wasn't out of desire, it's just, the capacity to withdraw the senses, withdraw the mind, withdraw the subtle faculties of life in samadhi. So there's stages of perfection, in short. If you want to get into it, there are nice places to. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's writings takes one into it. Read the final sections of Madhurya Kandambani, and you'll hear what those refinements of stages of perfection are. Very elevated. Something else. Yes, over here. Keep it passing. Yeah, there we go.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. When we were talking about the qualities of Parikshit Maharaj, or the praises of Parikshit Maharaj, one thing was said that he was as tolerant as his parents.
I'm listening.
Yeah, so what was that about Abhimanyu or Uttara that shows the tolerance of their character?
Let me go back to the slide to say more. The language is important. As tolerant as his parents. That's the praise. There's no specific indication. So minus the specific indication, maybe there's commentary. Paramakruna, see if you can find some commentary on this. He's doing it right now. He's got me a few steps ahead. If there's commentary, we'll hear what the commentary says. Minus the commentary, for example, when Abhimanyu was being dealt with unfairly, he didn't whine and complain and, say, hey guys, you're 6 dharmic generals, why are you doing like this? He just fought till the end because that was his dharma. So he was being tolerant of adharma, doing his dharma to the end. And his mother, she was tolerant. Here comes this Brahmastra weapon. But so she was willing to give up her life, but wanted the Supreme Personality of Godhead's protection against the Brahmastra, which is unstoppable. Please protect the child in my womb. So those are 2 examples. We'll see if he finds commentary. We'll circle back. And let's see if there's others. You found something?
Yes. So in the
Just say it. Just say it without the microphone.
canto, 12th chapter, verse 4, Parikshit is being called as the son of Yudhishthira. That verse says uses the word son of Yudhishthira. So the reference, because Abhimanyu had passed away, so Pandavas acted like a father. Facts.
So how does that answer the question?
So the parents being referred to is the Pandavas, not Abhimanyu.
Very interesting.
Yes, it addresses Parikshit as the son of Yudhishthira.
Canto 1, chapter 12. And this is it. Excuse me. This is in the section where the astrologers are giving his forecast.
Yes, just before that.
Just before that.
Verse number 14.
Leave it to scholars. But there, with difficult questions, there's a subtle answer. So our scholars have the capacity to. Thank you for finding that. There could have been an endless mystery. Thank you. You found something else.
Yeah, so the word is Sahishnuhu Pitarava Iva. So that is a plural word. So it means parents, but it's like the pitras, so like the lineage of parents. So it's not again just the mother and father, but everybody up above. So Pandavas and potentially even more.
Okay. You got what he said? You like what he said? Any complaints? Or modifications or additions or? It's nice to take topics and churn the topics. Nicely behind you. Go ahead. Pass the microphone back.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I had 2 questions. So the Kashyapa Muni, was it the same
Just a
Kashyapa?
little further from your mouth.
Kashyapa Muni here, who goes back with more dakshina, is it the same Kashyapa Muni from Satya Yuga?
My understanding is yes. It's just not from such a yuga. There's some. This is not verified. It's our researchers can research as I speak. My understanding is yes. There are certain living entities that live for Chiranjivas that live for a long, long time. And I can't remember for sure, but I think Kashyapa Muni is one. I think he's one of the Sapta Rishis. And they live for a long, many yuga cycles. Not just, many. For the duration of one Manu, 71 yuga cycles is the duration of their life. So it's not just such a yuga. That's my understanding.
I just want to add, Abhimanyu, when he was killed by the 7 generals, he did not listen to the charioteer, right? And I know you don't like that I read, but I think in Bhagavatam it says he even blasphemed Arjuna and Krishna that even if I think the charioteer says Arjuna and Krishna wouldn't be going in the direction you want me to take the chariot. And then he's like,
Forget those guys, I'm going.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, some detail. Well, that's nice. You don't do what Krishna and Arjuna said, you can have a problem. And he had a problem. Pass the microphone forward. Okay, I see it's coming just now. You have something?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful lecture. So, on this one slide, you said that Parikshit Maharaj invited 8,000 sages. But why 8,000?
Why is what?
80,000. Why 80,000?
Why 80,000 sages were there to hear Srimad Bhagavatam?
Why 80,000 people? Why not?
He could have invited a different number too.
Oh, okay. I only read what they give me. I've heard a different number also. But I read what's on the screen here because when we went to Sukratal, that's the reference that we were speaking from gave that number. And if there's a different number, quite possibly. No, that's a bigger question is, how did all those people hear what he said? You got an answer for that one? He had a good voice, huh?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, regarding that Kashyap Muni question.
Which question?
The question regarding Kashyap Muni, whether it was...
Yeah.
I think I'm 99% sure I read in Brihad Bhagavatamrita that it was not the same Kashyap Muni.
You find the reference?
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Okay. We'll discuss it tomorrow.
Yes.
You find the reference?
Yeah, it had some explanation that,
Okay,
this was a different Brahmana.
Let's see if we can find the reference. Okay, we're ready to close up shop for tonight. Tomorrow evening is Narada Muni, right? Yes? Is that what's on the schedule? So we'll see you all tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, or Premanandi.